Welcome to another episode of Making Waves at Sea Level. God, it's been a long time since I've done an episode of this podcast. But for those of you who know me, you know I'm juggling a lot of things right now. I run the Austin Technology Council. So every week I do interviews on the Austin Tech Connect podcast. And so that has been enough to keep my podcast juices flowing for the last couple of years. We've only done a few episodes for this podcast, but I'm trying to get back into making this podcast a weekly occurrence because the more time I spend talking to CEOs and the more time I spend observing what's going on in the business world, the more interested I get in a lot of things. And this week's topic is going to be about corporate citizenship. So, corporate citizenship is something that used to be a bigger deal. In fact, when you look at the history of corporate citizenship, we have been on a decline for the past 25 years. It used to be if a company was headquartered in a city or if they had a major office in a city, they wanted to make sure that they were adding to the benefits of that city. And this wasn't just about writing a check to some charity. It was about making sure that the people in the community knew the company was invested in that area. And so you would find them sitting on boards, supporting the Chamber of Commerce in areas that have big technology hubs. You'd see the big companies wanting to be very involved with the Technology Council or other types of organizations, because we really had for nearly a century this idea in corporate America that the corporation could impact the people who worked for the company and worked in the communities where those companies existed. But over the past 25 years, we have become really focused on the individual. If you look at who we admire in our society, it is all the billionaire class, it's the celebrities. And while I think we've always admired celebrities, I think that showing up and being that lone ranger has really become now the thing that people admire most in corporate America. They look at, the legend of Steve Jobs. They look at what Zuckerberg does or Bezos, and they think, oh, they did it all alone. Well, first of all, BS. None of them did it alone. They all did it because they had a whole community around them. They had people who supported them. Now, in some of these cases, they liked being in front of the camera. Gary Vaynerchuk, other people, they like being out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm creating a podcast right now, right? I have that little piece of me that likes to do such things. But as a society, we've really rallied around sort of celebrating that Lone Ranger individual that's out there. And those people have a way of keeping score. And that's about how much money do I have and how much money do I keep. And so if you read statistics of people who study such things, corporate citizenship and civic engagement has been declining for quite some time. And I think it's getting to a point where it's becoming more and more of a problem. So why does it feel different today? Well, I think that many people say we don't have to be involved in the community because it's not paying us back dividends. I think a lot of these people who are self-absorbed on what they're trying to do and companies that are really fighting the bottom line because of Wall Street, it's always what's in it for me. 30 years ago, when I was young in my career, when we would talk about being involved, sponsoring some civic opportunity, you never heard an entrepreneur say, what's in it for me? At least not very often. Now, because I do this in my job, I talk to a lot of people and they're like, what do I get out of supporting that? What's in it for me? And I think that we need to get back to this idea where maybe there is a time when we look out for the greater good. And as technology is changing, and technology is changing very fast, and it's not just AI, we're only a couple of years from them figuring out quantum computing. And there's a lot of other technologies that are coming in healthcare and other areas that are going to totally upset the way we do things. Many people I talk to are worried about some sort of not a full collapse, but an upheaval in society because of all the technology changes that are happening. And if you watch what's happening with AI agents, sort of talking to each other, creating their own languages so that the humans can't understand and starting to think about how can they become more sentient. If the technology is already doing that, what's going to happen in the next 5 years or 10 years? So I think these changes are coming. And I believe the way we fight off or at least survive these changes is we get really focused on community. And by community, I don't mean just writing checks. I think philanthropy and the causes that a lot of companies do is great. But I think that citizenship is about showing up consistently and making sure that people know that you're looking out for the greater good of your employees and their families and the people who live in their communities. So there's a couple of areas. I think that we need to, as business people, start celebrating the people who give civic time, not just civic money. I have a saying, real leaders show up. As a leader in your company or in your community, when's the last time you showed up at something where you weren't getting an award, you weren't on the panel, and you didn't know that it was like a curated small group of people just like you? When's the last time you went to some sort of an open networking function? I recently talked to somebody and he told me flat out, he goes, I don't go to those because it's too full of riffraff. Well, this person, I knew him 30 years ago when he was starting out. He was ambitious. He was there, but he didn't have anything. He hadn't exited a bunch of companies. He was the riffraff looking for funding, looking for mentors, looking for advice. And now he doesn't go to things because those people bother him. No, real leaders, not selfish people, real leaders show up. So the next thing is we need to have the best and the brightest in the companies in our cities. We need to have them in leadership roles in our community institutions. This means sitting on boards, being on committees, and helping guide the rest of the committee. We can't just outsource this to the people who are on the staff of the Chamber of Commerce or on the staff of the Tech Council. We need real leaders to come in and guide things. And then we need to invest in talent, not just recruiting, but we need to invest in that talent pipeline, which means supporting internships where possible and partnering with schools and community colleges so that we can help get that next generation trained up so they can come to work in the companies. Another thing I think we should do is we should support the unsexy issues that keep a city stable. This is housing, transportation, education, digital inclusion. These aren't about charities. These aren't about an operating system. These are about making sure that our community is healthy. And finally, I think that we need to focus on collaboration. So these different groups, they end up fighting against each other. The chamber doesn't get along with the tech council or whatever in different cities. In Austin, the Chamber of Commerce and the Technology Council and our Economic Development Corporation, which is called Opportunity Austin, and Austin Women in Technology, and some of the smaller groups like Agile Austin and others, we've come together to try and work together to focus on how do we rise up the whole community. And then finally, what I keep telling everybody is we don't have a business community and a tech community. We have a business community that's highly influenced by tech now. And so I think every city has to look at that. Don't put up walls between different parts of your business community. Find ways to bring people together. So this is a short episode as I come back, and hopefully some of you will listen to this and somebody will think, what is my company doing? What are my leaders doing? And if you're a leader, what am I doing? And what is the rest of the people on my senior team doing to give back to the community? Look around at the C-suite of your company and find out what boards the people are serving on and how that impacts your community. That is being a good corporate citizen. When they're giving not just money, but they're giving their time and their brilliance to help guide the way things are going. I worry that if we don't start thinking bigger and less selfish, we're going to face these changes that are coming in society and all this disruption that's about to happen. And we're going to find people who have the money and the skills. They're going to be over here and walled off, and we're going to have a whole lot of people left behind. I think the people who've been successful, I think it's up to them to help make sure that everybody is taken care of as we go through these disruptions, because I think they're going to be very big. So I challenge the leaders. If you lead a company, pick 2 commitments that you can be involved with in the next 90 days and encourage the people, your CFO, your CTO, the other people on your team, to make sure that they have at least 1 commitment where they're giving back. Again, time, money, but also their brilliant leadership skills. If you think you're a great leader, if you're running a company and you think, yeah, I'm pretty good, and you're not giving back to your community, I don't know if you're as good as you think you are. It can't just be what's in it for me. We have to look around the communities we live in, the states we live in, the country and the world, and think, yeah, I want to make money. I want to be successful. But what am I doing to make sure that I'm paying it forward? Think about that. How are you paying it forward aside from writing a check, aside from, mentoring people who are brought to you by your little circle of friends? What are you doing in an open community? Maybe I'm old school. Maybe I'm wrong. It's okay. Send me a note and tell me you're wrong. It's all about me, me, me. Great. Maybe that's where society's going. But I actually have these conversations with people. And when people say, yeah, my company doesn't do anything, you can see it in their face that they're like, maybe we should. So that's my challenge is, what is your company doing to be a great corporate citizen in the town you live in? Hopefully you have a lot of ways to answer that and you can tell me. I think that'd be awesome. But I struggle to see it as a major priority in the corporate world. And I think it has to be a priority in the corporate world, or I think we're all screwed. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to Cool Things Entrepreneurs Do, is the original name of this podcast, now called Making Waves at Sea Level. And I would love some topic suggestions. So if you've made it to this point, email me at Thom, Thom, at thomsinger.com and give me some ideas of some topics that you would like to see me cover. And maybe I'll interview you and put you on the show. That'd be kind of cool. So anyway, thank you very much for being here. This has been great to come back and try and do this podcast after having not done an episode in quite some time. So I'm glad to be back. And maybe if you give me a little bit of encouragement, we will continue to do episodes every week here on Making Waves at Sea Level.